All right, so short disclaimer before we get into anything. If you've listened to any episodes of the DaddyUp Podcast in the past, you know this is the first time that we're on camera. This is something that I struggled with, mainly because of myself and my own insecurities. There were some things that I had to get over. I didn't like my setup. I didn't like the way that I looked. I didn't think that what I had going on looked like a professional podcast. Um, I tried to record this episode many times, and I just wasn't happy with what I was giving. I was sitting on a patio, and I had to change some things. So I say that to say that at a certain point, you either have to move or you got to move on. And I don't want to let my own insecurities be the reason that I don't deliver the message that I feel like God has put on my heart to deliver. So, if you're looking at this podcast and you're thinking to yourself, like, yo, it doesn't look professional, you have any kind of feelings, that are negative, I apologize, right? I'm not 100% comfortable with it either. But I'm here, I'm going to move, and we're going to try to grow together. I promise you, how I start is not how I'm going to finish. So I appreciate and I thank you for being here on the first episode on camera. And I promise you, again, going forward, we will improve. So, with that being said, you ready? Well, let's go. You weren't given your children by accident. God chose you, specifically you, to be their father. Welcome to the DaddyUp Podcast. All right, so welcome in. I am Jason Jones. I'm a husband, I'm a father of 4, and I'm a man who's made enough mistakes to know that being a good father doesn't happen by accident. Around here, we face what's broken, we do the work, and we become better men for the people that need us most. Welcome to the DaddyUp Podcast. So, again, episode 1 on camera. Today, I want to tell you a story, but I want to frame the story around perfection and grace. And I say perfection because I feel like as fathers, and more in general as parents, I feel like there's sometimes a mindset, especially as a young parent, there's a mindset of, I got to get everything right. I got to be perfect, right? If I make the right choice here, if I make the right choice here, and if I make the right choice here, eventually everything will come together the way it's supposed to. I can't go wrong if I make all the right choices. And I feel like, as a young parent, but also just as a parent and a father, I feel like the mindset is that perfection is attainable. All right. And if you stack these choices, if you make the right choices and you stack them, eventually your kids are going to end up, I guess, ahead of others or right where they're supposed to be, whatever it is. But I just believe that that's the mindset. Right. But here's the truth. Perfection is a myth. It's an absolute myth. And I'm going to explain why. I'm going to tell the story on why I believe that perfection is a myth. But more than perfection, I want to talk about grace as well. Because when you make the mistake that you are definitely and undoubtedly going to make, you have to be able to give yourself grace. You have to be able to extend the same grace to you that God has given to you. And if you don't, you can get caught in a cycle that can be very detrimental to not only you, but to your children and your family as well. So let's get into it. So I'm going to tell you a story about a few years ago, how I was working a job, right? I'm on a job, and let me get my notes here together because I want to make sure I don't miss anything, right? So I'm working a job a few years ago. I'm comfortable. I've been there about a year and a half, but I'm making about, like $18, $19 an hour, right? It's enough to pay the bills and make the ends meet, but it's a struggle every week, right? It's an absolute struggle. And I'm working this job, and it's a warehouse job, and I'm just a regular warehouse associate, and I'm on location somewhere, so I'm outside working, and I'm on a forklift, and I get a call, and I don't recognize the number. So I stepped away for a minute. I answered the phone, and there's a lady on the other end of the phone, and she's saying to me, she's like, "Hey, listen, we got your application, we got your resume, and I think I may have a job that's a good fit for you. Do you have a few minutes to talk about it?" And again, I'm at a job where I'm comfortable, right? I know that I can be doing better. I know that there can be, better opportunities out there. But for the most part, I'm comfortable. But I entertained the call. And I said, "Yeah, I got a couple minutes. You can go ahead and tell me about the job." And she said, "Well, let me start with this. What are you looking to make? What would be a comfortable amount for you, to leave the job that you're at now?" And in my mind, I'm thinking, "Oh, this is a staffing service, right? Like, they're not going to offer me anything major. They're not going to offer me like a good hourly salary or hourly rate." And I said, I don't know, like $21, $22 an hour. And again, I'm just throwing a number out there because I know that she's about to come back to me with, "Well, we have a job that's paying $16 an hour," right? I know she's about to come back to me with that. And I tell her the number, and she's like, "Okay, great, because we have an opportunity that's paying $25 an hour. Do you have a few minutes that I can explain it to you?" And at that point, she could have just stopped, right? Because for $25 an hour, bro, I'm in. It doesn't matter what the job is, right? Like, whatever you need me to do, I'm there. What time do I start, right? Give me the location. I'll be there tomorrow. And she's like, "Yeah, it's $25 an hour. Do you have a few minutes I can explain it to you?" And I'm like, "Absolutely. Please continue." And she starts telling me about the job, and it's something that I can do without a problem. And I lied a little bit. She's like, Do you have any experience on a picker, on a cherry picker machine?" That's one of the forklifts that go way up in the air, right? Now I got a little bit of a fear of heights, just a little bit, right? Not major, but just a touch. And I told her, I was like, "Yeah, I've got plenty of experience." "Oh yeah, how long did you do it?" I don't know what I said, but it was enough for her to be like, "Okay, well, we're going to offer you the position." So I had to go through what I had to go through, all the clerical stuff and the administrative stuff. But I ended up leaving the job that I was at. Right now, here's a sidebar, right? When you lie and you fabricate on the resume or on the application, at a certain point, you're going to have to prove it. Because when I got into that job, maybe about a week in, they put me on this cherry picker that went about 100 feet up in the air. And boy, let me tell you, when I got to the top, the way my legs were shaking and the way that fear was inside of me, it was pretty scary. But I got over that, right? So anyway, I'm working this job, right? I'm getting paid $25 an hour. Now, the thing about this job was they paid overtime, right? And they had a lot of overtime that you could get. I'm not going to say that it was unlimited because they had certain rules behind it. But it was there for the taking if you were willing to do the work. Now I'm working 4 10-hour shifts, right? So I'm getting paid 40 hours off rip, but I have the opportunity to come in and get as many hours as pretty much as I want. So I'm working about 60 to 70 hours a week, like it's nothing. And with the $25 an hour plus the time and a half with the overtime, I'm bringing in more money per week than I had ever brought in before in my life, right? And I'm starting to feel like the man who I intended myself to be when I became a father. I started feeling like the husband who I envisioned when I became a husband. I was able to go to my wife and say, "Hey, listen, I got the bills, right? Like I got the rent, I got the utilities, I got the bill, I got everything. I got the car payments, I got it all. I don't need anything from you." And the value that gave me, the way that it made me feel to finally be able to be the man who was just like, "Babe, I got it. I don't need 50-50 on nothing. I don't need 60-40. I don't need 70-30. I don't need 80-20. I got 100. It just felt great. Felt absolutely great. And I finally felt like I was walking into the man who I was supposed to be the whole time. And I'm working this job, and my family, we had scheduled a family trip to Florida. We go down to this town in Florida. It's a beach town. We go down every year. We rent a condo. This is our second year going. Now, one of the things that I had always wanted to do ever since I became a father was I wanted to take my children to Disney World. I got 4 children, right? And they're all still in the age range where taking them to Disney World is something that they'll all appreciate. And this was something that, again, it's a bucket list thing. And I always wanted to, but I never thought that I would be able to because again, I'm paycheck to paycheck, right? Like Disney is expensive. How am I ever going to get enough money to take a family of 6 to Disney World? But now I see a path. I see a way to get there because I'm making all the money. I have the ability now to do that. So I go online and I Google how far away Disney World is from the place that we were staying. It's an hour away. Bet. Sign it up. Cost me $1,600 to take a family of 6 to Disney World for one day. Paid it like it was nothing. I didn't even think about it. Bought the tickets, set it up, had everything set, good to go. Right? Now, again, I'm working this job. Money's coming in. I'm taking care of everything. We got the trip coming up. Everything is fine. Now, this is the type of job where it was cutthroat, right? It didn't matter if they had their rules, and if you deviated at all from the rules, whether large or small, you were gone. There was no explanation. There was no excuses. There was no reasoning. You were gone. And I knew that going in, right? And then one thing that they had always told us was, if you make a mistake, if you cause damage, whatever you do, you come to us and you let us know right away. Don't let us find out first. You come to us, you talk to us, and we'll work it out. And again, I knew that, right? So one day, I can remember like it was yesterday. It's a Sunday. I'm at work and I'm doing overtime. And I ended up getting on a cherry picker. It was a brand that I had never used before. And the controls were a little weird. It took me a little bit of time to get used to them, but I got used to them. And about right before lunch, I'm driving down an aisle, and I don't know what happened, but somehow, some way, I kind of like lost control of the cherry picker, and I ended up sideswiping one of the racks, right on the bottom. I sideswiped it, and it shook a little bit, but there was no damage. There was no major damage, right? And there was no one in the aisle, so no one saw what was going on. And I looked on the rack, no damage on the rack. I looked on the cherry picker. There's no damage on the cherry picker. Now, in my mind, I know that I'm supposed to go and tell them, hey, listen, I just sideswiped this rack. There's no damage. There's no nothing, but I just want to let you guys know. But I also know that if I tell them that I just got into an accident, whether big or small, what they're going to do is send me out for a drug test. Now, I'm heavy into my addiction at this point. I mean, I'm waking up and I'm smoking. I'm on the way to work and I'm smoking. I'm at lunch and I'm smoking. I had a 30-minute lunch, so you figure it out, okay? I would go outside on my little 10, 15-minute break, and I would roll up, and I would leave it there until I came back from my lunch, and I would smoke. I wouldn't even eat. I would smoke. On the way home, I smoked. When I got home, I smoked. Before bed, I smoked. So I say all that to say that I was heavy into my addiction. There was no way I was going to pass a drug test. So in my addicted mind, what I said is, well, there's no damage to the rack. There's no damage to the machine. Nobody saw me. Shit. I'm going to hide this one. I ain't saying nothing. And I went to a part of the warehouse where there's no cameras, and I'm checking the machine. I'm making sure I'm wiping, like there's like a little bit of paint from the rack that's on the machine. I'm wiping it off. I'm making sure nobody can find out anything, right? Like I'm covering my tracks. And I go to lunch. And I'm nervous at lunch because I'm like, man, I hope they don't, check the cameras. I hope nobody saw nothing. Like, I think I'm good, but I should be fine, right? I started smoking again. So I'm like, I'll be fine. That high mind. And I come back in from lunch, and we have like a little huddle where, we talk and we get everything set for the second half of the day. And I remember my supervisor comes over after the huddle, and he's like, I need you to come with me. And I knew what it was, and my heart immediately dropped. I said, why, what's up? Well, we got a report that you had a little bit of an accident. I'm like, what you talking about? He was like, yeah, well, we got a report that you had an accident. So I need you to come with me. Now, what I didn't realize when I sideswiped that rack, what I didn't know is that there was a young lady on the other side of the rack. And when I hit the rack, a box dropped down and it hit her. Now, I'm in a sneaker warehouse, right? Like it's a sneaker warehouse. So it's a box of sneakers that we're talking about. And they're very light sneakers. So it's not like it caused, major damage. It's not like it hurt her or injured her in any way. But the box came down and it hit her. Now, again, I didn't see her. I didn't know. But she went and she put a report in that the rack was hit, box dropped, and they realized that it was me. So he takes me to the office, and the supervisor, he's just talking to me one-on-one. He's like, why didn't you come say something? Like, you one of our better workers. Like, why didn't you say something? And I'm like, man, listen, I don't know, man. I didn't think I didn't see any damage. I didn't break anything. The machine wasn't damaged at all. I didn't think that it was that big of a deal. So, I know I should have said something, but I'm trying to save myself somehow, some way. But again, I know what's about to happen. I know what's about to happen. And he's like, all right, well, listen, it's a Sunday, so there's no major manager here. But we're gonna send you home for the day, and we'll do our investigation. We'll call you back in a couple of days. We'll let you know what's going on, or we'll call the staffing service because again, the job's through an agency. And I'm like, all right, man. And I leave, and I know what it is. I gotta call my wife, and I gotta explain to my wife what's going on. Now I'm somebody who I've been in and out of jobs for as long as I can remember. So to have to call my wife and tell her, like, babe, I done messed up. That freedom that we had, that room that we had to breathe is no more. Now, again, it wasn't official that I was going to be fired at the time, but I knew what was coming. So I waited maybe like 3 days or so before I finally got the call from the staffing service. It was probably the longest 3 days of my life. And I got a call from the staffing service, and they told me, they say, hey, listen, they're letting you go. And my world just dropped, all right? Because again, I finally felt like I was stepping into the man that I was supposed to be. The father, the husband, the son, the brother, the friend. I finally felt like I was starting to achieve that level that I had envisioned myself at for a long, long, long time. And it disappeared, right? And I realized, like, yo, I'm not mourning a check. I'm mourning the man who I thought I was becoming. And it hurt. It tore me up. But again, getting back to the Florida trip, Florida was planned, right? It's paid for. It's planned. We got to go. Now I'm depressed. I'm ashamed. I'm like, man, I don't really want to go on vacation. I got to find another job, but it's coming up in like the next week or two. So we decided, like, listen, everything is paid for. We're not going to lose out on this money. We're going on vacation. And I started to think to myself, it's maybe it's not a bad idea. Like, I can go down there, I can relax, I can recharge, I can get myself together, and I can come back and go even harder to try to find the next thing. So we go to Florida, all right? And we're down in Florida, and there's this anxious feeling the entire time because I got to count every penny. I don't have all the money that I'm spending. I don't have nothing coming behind it. And so there's this nervous kind of anxiousness of like, I got to count every dollar, but I still got to be a good dad because I don't want to ruin anyone's vacation with what I got going on inside of me. So the night before the Disney trip, we hadn't told the kids what was going on. The night before, we decided we were going to surprise them and tell them. And we were like, hey, listen, guess what? We're going to Disney World tomorrow. And it was like, yay, we're going to Disney World. Everyone's excited, right? And we told them, hey, listen, get to sleep. It's going to be an early day tomorrow. We're going to get there as soon as they open, and we're not leaving until they close. We're going to be there all day. So you guys need to get to bed, get to sleep, right? So they did. And after they went to bed, I remember telling myself that night, like, bro, you can't mess up tomorrow. You don't know when you're going to be able to bring your family to Disney World again. This may be the only time in your life that you have this opportunity in front of you. You better get it right tomorrow. You can't snap. You can't react. You cannot lose control for 1 second. Don't mess up. I'm telling myself this before we go to bed, right? And then in the morning, we wake up. It's early in the morning, and, my wife is getting all the kids together, and, I find a little bit of time where I can go and I can smoke because, again, I'm addicted. I'm heavy into my addiction. So we're at a condo, and I go up. I go downstairs, and I'm sitting underneath of these concrete stairs, right? Because I'm trying to hide from anybody else who may be coming around, and I'm sitting there and I'm smoking. And I tell myself again, bro, put your game face on. Ain't no excuses today. Today has to be perfect. You cannot mess up. You cannot lose your control. You cannot show your anger. You cannot be annoyed. You cannot be disturbed. You got to be perfect. Get your game face on. I'm giving myself this pep talk, right? And it works. I'm like, all right, cool. Today's going to be a great day. We going to Disney World. Oh, finally, I did it. But again, there's this nervous anxiousness of like, You about to go spend a lot of money in this park and you ain't got nothing coming back behind it. So you got to be careful too. Right? I'm carrying a lot emotionally. I'm carrying my hurt, my shame, my embarrassment, my fear. I'm carrying all these things emotionally. But I got it. I'm gonna put it inside and I got everything, right? So we get into the car, we drive to Disney World. Like I said, it's about an hour away, right? We get to Disney World, we see the gate to say Magic Kingdom. The kids get all excited. Oh my God, it's Magic Kingdom. They're all excited. And we got there as soon as they open, 8:00 in the morning. We get there. And we go into the park and it's packed. We, for whatever reason, we thought a Monday wasn't going to be a busy day. Turns out Monday's probably the busiest day ever at Disney World. All right. So we went on a Monday. And I mean, there's people everywhere. It's Florida, so it's hot. It's burning up hot. And it's a perfect recipe for me to be annoyed, right? I got a bunch of people around me. I got the kids. I got the wife. I got everything. And I didn't get annoyed because I had my game face on. And I told myself, you got to hold it down today. You got to be under control. You can't lose it, right? And I did, right? Morning, afternoon, into the night, we were there all day. And I made perfect decision after perfect decision after perfect decision. The kids would start arguing with each other. Hey, listen, we're in Disney World. It's a magical place. There's no reason to be upset. Just relax. Let it go. Wife gets annoyed or, whatever it is. I'm the voice of reason. I'm the one who's holding everything together. My demeanor and my attitude is leading everything. And it's a beautiful day. And we were there from, again, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Now, my wife and I, we did a little bit of research on, certain things about Disney before we went because we wanted to make sure we had our day planned out. And one of the things that we saw a video that said, there's this place on Main Street that sells popcorn that you should stop on your way out. It's a perfect ending to the day. Now, the thing about this place is that they have popcorn that has all these different treats and toppings and sauces and all the stuff that you can put on your popcorn. Like you can customize it however you want. So we're like, listen, that's what we're going to do on the way out. That's what we're going to do. It was planned. We had it ready to go. So the park is closing. We're walking down Main Street. We see the popcorn stand and or the store where the popcorn is. And we go inside. There's this huge long line because apparently everyone in Disney World that day saw the same video that we saw. So there's this long line. So I'm standing in the line and I'm exhausted. My feet hurt. My legs are tired. I don't want to do anything but go to sleep. I got an hour drive all the way back to the condo. But I'm holding it together. Understand me? I'm holding it together. All the emotions, I'm holding them all. I got them all here, ready to go. They're mine. I got them. I don't need any help. We get the popcorn. And we're walking out and we're headed to the ferry. And, we're getting on the ferry and I got all this stuff in my hands. I got popcorn. I got bags. I got like souvenirs. I got the hats with the Mickey. I'm carrying everything that everyone has had throughout the day. Water bottles and this, everything, right? And my wife looked at me and she saw that I'm carrying everything. And I'm trying to do my best because I want to make the day as beautiful and as easy as possible for everyone else. And she looked at me, she was like, you need some help? And I was like, nah, I got it. Which is what we as fathers say all the time, right? I got it. When we're struggling, when we're drowning, when our head is just above water, what do we say? I got it. Now, emotionally, again, I'm carrying all these things and I'm thinking to myself, I got it. You good. Physically, I'm carrying all these things and she's asking me and I'm saying, I got it. And I start shifting something around, trying to move something so I can be more comfortable because my arms are getting tired. And I dropped my son's popcorn. And when I tell you it was like a movie, I promise you, it was like the popcorn, I could feel it falling out of my arms in slow motion. I could see it dropping to the deck of the ferry in slow motion. I could see it hit the deck and bounce and popcorn tip over and go everywhere. I looked at my son and the look, everything was it was like a movie. He's so disappointed. He's so sad because we were talking about popcorn for all day. He wanted this. He got it just the way he wanted it. And Dad dropped it. And I'm upset. I'm disappointed. I'm ashamed. I'm embarrassed of myself because I dropped it. And I looked at my wife and she didn't say anything, but she gave me that look. Fellas, you know that look. And ladies, if you're watching, if you're listening, you know that look, right? She gave me that look like, I told you. I knew it was going to happen. And look what you did. And the way that sliced me up inside was terrible. It killed me. Because I felt like in that instance, in that second, that dropping that popcorn was like I ruined the day. Now, here's the thing. I didn't. But my mind told me that I did. So not only did I drop the popcorn, all those emotions that I was holding, that I had here, that I said, I'm good, I don't need no help, they all dropped too. All the embarrassment, the shame, the anxiety, the nervousness, the counting every dollar, all of those things that I was holding, I dropped them. And there was an instant energy shift. Because when I dropped them and I lost all of my emotion, everything got filtered through my anger. Because as a man, there's only one emotion that we're really allowed to show, that we're expected to show, right? You can't cry. You can't be upset. You can be mad. And that's what happened. I got mad. Now I'm mad at myself, but I'm taking it out now on the family. Not outwardly, but they know something's up. They know that dad is upset about something. Now there's confusion because is it me? Did I do something wrong? And it was like the day was ruined. We got there at 8 a.m. It's about 11 p.m. when we're leaving. I had 15 hours of perfect decisions, one after the other, after another, of perfect, dead on, absolutely 100% accurate decisions. And I let 5 seconds ruin them all. And I chopped myself up for it. Now I'm going to tell you why I chopped myself up for it. Because I have this belief about punishment. It's an old belief now, but I have this old belief about punishment where there's a certain cycle that happens, right? And the cycle is you make a mistake, you overthink it, you feel shame, and then you feel self-pity. That's my cycle. And I don't know if any of you out there who are watching right now, if you have that same cycle, but you make a mistake and then you overthink it. I got to figure this out. I made this mistake. I got to get it right. I got, and then you have shame. And the shame and the embarrassment is something where it's like, I don't want anyone to see me. So like, don't tell me that I made the mistake. I know I made the mistake. Don't come to me talking to me about how I made a mistake. I know I did. And then that turns into self-pity. And that was my cycle. And I was going through it. Now I had this also another belief where it's like, I can't give myself grace until I feel like I've stressed about something enough. Right? Because if I give myself grace, I'm excusing the accountability. And I gotta be accountable for it, right? Like I gotta chop myself up enough before I give God the ability to come in and give me grace. That's just how I am. I don't know why I'm built like that, but that's just how I'm built. And that's what's happening. So I made the mistake. I'm overthinking it. I'm shameful. There's self-pity. I feel like I gotta hold myself accountable. I got all these things that are going on. And what I realized is that I thought that I was practicing accountability with my cycle, but what I was really trying to do more than anything else was I was trying to earn grace. I was trying to earn grace from myself for making the mistake. And not only that mistake, the mistake of losing the job, the mistake of hitting that rack, the mistake of not saying anything, the mistake of messing up the opportunity that we had in front of us. And I realized that, my family, they weren't carrying my anger. They were carrying the disappointment that I had in myself. And I told myself, today got to be perfect. It's got to be absolutely perfect. And when it wasn't, I went through that cycle again. And I was disappointed in myself. And I made them carry the weight. Because I couldn't give myself grace. And that's the point that I'm trying to make today, is that perfection is an absolute myth. You are going to make a mistake as a parent. Just as a human, you're going to make a mistake. It's inevitably going to happen. And when it does, if you don't have the ability to give yourself grace, your family is going to have to carry that weight. They're going to have to. I made the mistake where I didn't realize, if Jesus had already paid for all of my sins, right? If he sat up on the cross and he died to wash my sins away, why was I still trying to pay for it? Why was I still trying to pay for the mistakes that I was making? It doesn't make any sense when you think about it and you really stop and you analyze it for a second. And that's part of giving yourself grace. That's what this is about, right? Like who convinced me that my punishment was more righteous than his sacrifice? I don't know who did, but that's the feeling that I had. And again, because I'm having these feelings and I can't process and I got all these things going on, my family is carrying the weight of me not being able to give myself the grace. I'm telling you, it's perfection is a myth. It's an absolute myth. But more importantly than that, grace has to be something that you give yourself without any second thought. Again, you are going to make a mistake. And if you cannot give yourself the grace to recover from that mistake, I promise you, you are setting yourself up for a major fall. I thought to myself that when that popcorn dropped, that the day was ruined. I felt like all those memories that we had throughout the day of me feeling like the father who finally was able to take my children to Disney World, I felt like they were all erased. I killed myself because of it. Chopped myself up for days. And what I realized that, and it took me a while to realize this, that day didn't fall apart because I dropped some popcorn. Right? It didn't fall apart at all. My kids still have those memories. And popcorn doesn't, if anything, popcorn adds to the story. Because now they can be like, remember when Dad dropped Jason's popcorn? But I thought that my reaction had ruined 15 hours of a perfect day. And it didn't. And that's me learning how to give myself grace and understand that I'm a human. I'm going to make a mistake. It's naturally going to happen. So I ask you today, what sentence are you still serving? Right? Like what mistake did you make that you're still trying to pay for? Right? What failure have you turned into identity? Because that's what I did, right? I thought that accountability was, or giving myself grace was escaping accountability, but it wasn't, right? What it was, that grace, what it is that it keeps accountability from becoming your identity. And that's something that I want everyone to remember. Accountability is not the absence, or grace is not the absence of accountability, but that grace keeps accountability from becoming your identity. So again, I ask you, what failure have you turned into your identity? What sentence are you still paying for? Give yourself the grace. Let it go. Because your family needs a father who can receive grace. Your family needs a father who can give grace. That's what they need. My children don't need a perfect father. They didn't need a perfect day. What they needed was a father who knew how to receive the grace that God had already given him. So with that, again, perfection is a myth, an absolute myth. But grace is more important and must be given when you make those mistakes. And with that being said, that's the episode, right? Like that's a wrap on this episode of the DaddyUp Podcast. Remember, our kids don't need perfect fathers. They need fathers who are willing to do the work. So choose wisdom over wounds and protect the kids. And until next time, Daddy up.